Welcome to Cheater Confessions. Let's get started with today's story. I've always been a straightforward guy. Work, home, occasional hangouts with friends. I believed in the traditional ideas of love and marriage. Then came Natalie. Natalie and I met at a mutual friend's barbecue. She was vibrant, full of life, and everything about her drew me in. We hit it off immediately, and after 2 years of dating, I proposed. She said yes, and life felt perfect. We were engaged and planning our future together. But as they say, life has a way of throwing curveballs. We'd been engaged for about a year when the first conversation about spicing things up happened. We were sitting on the couch one evening, watching one of those reality shows about couples. "Honey," Natalie began, her tone light but serious, "have you ever thought about trying something new?" I turned to her, confused. "What do you mean?" "Well," she hesitated. "You know, like an open relationship?" I blinked. "An open relationship? Where did this come from?" "I was reading this article," she explained. "It said that sometimes couples who explore this stay together longer. It's like giving each other freedom but still staying committed." I was silent for a moment. "Natalie, are you unhappy?" No, not at all," she quickly reassured me. "I love you, Jack, I really do. It's just, I think it could be fun. No strings attached, no emotional involvement, just exploration." I took a deep breath. "I don't know, Natalie. This isn't something I've ever considered." "Think about it," she said, placing her hand on mine. "We don't have to decide now." That night I lay awake, thoughts racing. Was our engagement not enough for her? Did she need more? Over the next few days, Natalie kept bringing it up, each time more casually. It felt like she was testing the waters, waiting for me to agree. Finally, one evening I said, "All right, let's try it, but with rules." Her face lit up. "Really? Jack, you're the best." "Yes, rules are a must." We agreed. No emotional attachments, honesty about who we were seeing, and most importantly, we'd stop if either of us felt uncomfortable. A week later, Natalie went out with her friends. When she returned, she was glowing. "How was it?" I asked. "Great. I met someone," she said with a sly smile. "His name's Greg. He's nice, but don't worry, it's just fun." I nodded, trying to suppress the knot in my stomach. A few days later, I decided to test the waters myself. There was a woman at work, Claire, who had always been friendly with me. I invited her out for coffee. "So what's up, Jack? You've never asked me out before," Claire teased. I laughed nervously. "Well, Claire, things are a bit different at home now." She raised an eyebrow. "Different how?" "We're trying this open relationship thing," I admitted. "Interesting," she said, leaning in. "And how's that working out for you?" "Honestly, I'm not sure, but I thought maybe we could hang out." She smiled. "Sure, Jack. Let's see where this goes." Claire and I started meeting up more frequently. We kept it light. Dinners, walks, and some occasional flirting. It felt good to have someone interested in me, but I was still unsure about the whole situation. One night, as Natalie and I sat down for dinner, she asked, "How's Claire?" "She's good," I replied, keeping my tone neutral. "We're taking things slow." Natalie nodded, then hesitated. "Jack, I need to tell you something." "What is it?" I asked, my heart skipping a beat. "I've been seeing Greg more often than we planned," she admitted. I felt a pang in my chest. "How often?" "Every other day," she said softly. "Natalie, that's not what we agreed on," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "I know, but it just happened." "We connected," she explained, tears welling up in her eyes. "Natalie, we promised. No emotional involvement." "I didn't mean for this to happen," she said, her voice trembling. "But Jack, I still love you. I don't want to lose you." I stared at her, my mind spinning. "I need some time to think." Over the next few days, I avoided Natalie. I needed space to process everything. Claire noticed my mood at work. "Jack, you've been quiet lately. Everything okay?" she asked one afternoon. "It's Natalie," I admitted. "She's developed feelings for the guy she's seeing." Claire nodded thoughtfully. "Jack, maybe this open relationship thing isn't for you." "I think you're right," I sighed. "I thought I could handle it, but it's tearing us apart." Claire reached out and placed her hand on mine. "You're a good guy, Jack. You deserve someone who's fully committed to you." Her words lingered with me as I went home that night. Natalie was waiting for me in the living room. "Jack, we need to talk." I sat down, bracing myself. "Yeah, we do." "I've made a decision," she said, her voice steady. "I'm going to end things with Greg." "Really?" I asked, surprised. "Yes," she nodded. "I realize that I don't want to lose you. This open relationship was a mistake. I love you, Jack, and I want to fix this." I sighed in relief. "Natalie, I love you too, but we need to rebuild our trust." "I'm willing to do whatever it takes," she promised. For a while, things seemed to improve. Natalie ended things with Greg, and we started going to couples therapy. However, the shadow of our past lingered. Trust was hard to rebuild. One evening, I came home to find Natalie on the phone, whispering. When she saw me, she quickly hung up. "Who was that?" I asked. "No one," she said, avoiding my gaze. "Natalie, don't lie to me," I said, my voice firm. "It was Greg," she admitted. "He called to check in." I felt the familiar sting of betrayal. "Natalie, you promised." "I know, Jack, I didn't call him. He reached out," she said defensively. I didn't believe her. Something about her tone, the way she avoided my gaze, made my gut churn with suspicion. That night, when Natalie went to bed, I waited until I was sure she was asleep. Slowly, I reached for her phone on the nightstand, my hands trembling. I scrolled through her messages and my heart sank. There were texts from Greg. Lots of them. It wasn't just one or two. They had been talking regularly, even meeting up. She hadn't stopped seeing him like she promised. One message read, "I miss you. When can we meet again?" Another one from just the day before said, "Jack has no idea, does he?" I sat there, the phone in my hand, staring at the evidence of her continued betrayal. Shock turned into anger, and I felt my whole world crumbling around me. I didn't put the phone back in the nightstand. I just kept it with me and spent the rest of the night in the living room, too furious to sleep. The next morning, as Natalie walked into the kitchen, rubbing her eyes and yawning, I was already sitting at the table, waiting. My jaw was clenched, and my hands were wrapped tightly around my coffee mug, more to keep them from shaking than anything else. "Morning," she said, leaning in for a kiss. I turned my head away and she froze, confusion clouding her face. "What's wrong?" I placed her phone on the table, screen up, with Greg's messages still open. "You lied to me, Natalie." Her eyes widened, darting from the phone to my face. "Jack, Don't," I cut her off, my voice cold and hard. "I saw the messages. You said you stopped seeing him. You promised." She stepped back, wrapping her arms around herself. "I didn't mean for it to continue. You just what?" I interrupted, standing up. "You just kept seeing him behind my back? You kept lying to me?" Tears welled up in her eyes. "Jack, I didn't know how to end it. He kept reaching out and I felt guilty." "Guilty?" I laughed bitterly. "You should feel guilty for lying to me, not because Greg might feel sad without you." "I love you, Jack," she whispered, her voice trembling. "I don't want to lose you." "You've already lost me, Natalie," I said, shaking my head. "Every lie, every message, every time you saw him, you pushed me further away." "Please, Jack," she pleaded, stepping closer. "We can fix this." I took a deep breath, my heart pounding in my chest. How? How do we fix something when trust is gone? Natalie reached out to touch my arm, but I stepped back, creating a physical distance that mirrored the emotional chasm between us. "It's over, Natalie," I said, my voice steady but filled with the weight of finality. "We're not going to get married. I can't marry someone who lies to me, someone who keeps seeing another man while promising me a future." Her face crumpled, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Jack, don't do this. We can work through it. I'll stop seeing him, I swear." I shook my head. "You've already said that and you broke your promise. How am I supposed to believe you now?" "I'll prove it to you," she begged, her voice rising in desperation. "Just give me a chance." I sighed deeply, the pain in my chest almost unbearable. "I gave you a chance, Natalie. I gave you my trust, my heart, and you broke them both. I can't do this anymore." "Please, Jack," she whispered, falling to her knees, clutching at my hands. "Don't end us like this." Gently, I pulled my hands away. I deserve someone who respects me enough to be honest. You have 3 days to pack your stuff and leave the house. Without another word, I turned and walked out of the kitchen, leaving her sobbing on the floor. I grabbed a few of my things, packed them into a bag, and went to a hotel. I couldn't stand being there anymore. My mind was all over the place after everything with Natalie. It felt surreal, but I knew I had to get away and clear my head. Later that evening, my phone buzzed. It was a message from Claire. "Hey Jack, you free tonight?" I quickly replied, "I don't know, I'm not in the mood to go out." She called almost immediately. "Jack, come on, let's go have a good time." I didn't have the energy to argue, so I agreed. Maybe it would help clear my mind, take a break from everything with Natalie. We decided to grab a drink at a nearby bar. Her energy was infectious, and even though I was still rattled, it felt good to just talk and laugh. After an hour, Claire could see I was still off. "Jack, what happened with Natalie? You okay?" I looked at her for a moment, not sure what to say. Finally, I just let it out. "It's over. She's been lying to me. She's still seeing Greg behind my back. I can't do it anymore." Claire's eyes widened. "What? Oh my God, Jack, I'm so sorry." "Yeah, me too," I said, trying to keep my emotions in check. "I never saw it coming. I thought we had something real, but I guess I was wrong." "I know how much she meant to you," Claire said, her voice soft. "But you deserve better than that." We spent the rest of the night talking, and as it wore on, the tension between us grew. Claire's hand lingered on mine, and suddenly, everything felt different. The pain from the breakup seemed to fade, and in its place there was a strange closeness. "Jack," Claire whispered, her voice low, "I need to be honest. I care about you." I looked at her, unsure what to say. I don't know." "You don't have to say anything," she replied. "I just want you to know I'm here for you." And then she kissed me. It started slow, but the longer it went on, the more intense it became. Everything else seemed to disappear, and we were just there, together. 3 days later, I returned to the house. Natalie had packed her things. She stood before me, suitcase in hand, tears streaming down her face. "I can't do this, Jack," she said, her voice trembling. "Please, give me another chance. I'll fix everything. I'll do whatever it takes." I stood there, numb, unable to find any words that would ease the pain she had caused. My heart was heavy, but there was no turning back. I had already made up my mind. "Natalie," I said, my voice steady but cold, "it's over. I can't keep doing this. I can't trust you anymore." Her face crumpled as she dropped her suitcase onto the floor. "Jack, please," she begged, her voice breaking. "I made a mistake. I swear I'll change. I'll prove it to you. Just give me one more chance." I shook my head, feeling an ache deep in my chest, but resolute. "No, it's too late. You've broken my trust, and I can't go back." She fell silent, looking at me as if waiting for me to change my mind. But I couldn't. I couldn't keep pretending everything was okay when it wasn't. Finally, she nodded, wiping away the tears. "I understand. I'll go." She turned and walked toward the door, her shoulders slumped in defeat. As she left, I felt a strange mix of relief and sadness. It was over. There was no turning back now, and with that, Natalie was gone. A few months passed, and I focused on moving forward. Claire had moved in with me by then. Things weren't perfect, but they were different. Having her there, in my space, felt like a step toward something new. Despite everything that had happened, the comfort I felt with her was undeniable. Then one evening, Natalie showed up again. She was standing at the door, looking disheveled, and I could see the desperation in her eyes. "I'm sorry," she said, her voice cracking. I couldn't stay away. Jack, please. I'll do anything. Just take me back." I didn't know what to feel. There was a part of me that still cared for her, but the betrayal was too much. "No, Natalie. It's over. I've moved on." Her face contorted in disbelief. "You've moved on?" she repeated. "With her?" She looked past me into the house, her eyes narrowing when she saw Claire standing at the kitchen counter. "Yes," I replied, feeling a mixture of sadness and relief. "I found peace, Natalie. It's over." Natalie's eyes flared with anger, her voice rising. You think she's the answer? She's not. You're just running away from me, from us. Claire stepped forward, her voice steady. I'm not here to compete, Natalie. But Jack deserves better than the way you treated him. That was all it took. The argument exploded, both women shouting at each other, their emotions raw and heated. I stood there, caught in the middle, knowing this was the mess I had to clean up. Enough! I shouted, stepping between them. This isn't helping. Natalie, you need to leave. We're done. Please, just go. She looked at me, her face a mix of hurt and disbelief. You're really doing this, Jack? Her voice broke, but she didn't fight me anymore. Slowly she turned, her shoulders slumped as she walked away, leaving me with the wreckage of everything that had once been. I couldn't shake the weight of what had happened. No matter how hard I tried to move on, the memory of everything we'd shared refused to fade. A few weeks later, I made the decision. I sold the house, deciding that it was time for a fresh start. Claire and I packed up our things, and we left the city behind. We moved to a new place, a new town where no one knew our past. We didn't know what the future would hold, but we were ready to take the leap together. Thank you for watching.